Move swiftly on to our next question regarding Harry Kane again. And do you think, obviously his contract runs out at the end of next season, do you see any sort of possibility that he does sign that contract and we can see him play for Spurs past that point? We'll start with you, Ash.
You know what? Since the wins happened and football changes very quickly, and I feel like after the loss against Newcastle, the mood was very down, very low in the camp, and I think the fan base reflected that. It was quite toxic, to be fair, and I couldn't really see at that time a way out for Kane to sign a contract in these type of circumstances. But obviously, the manager at the time, the assistant coach Delaney, had left. He's been sacked, and then Mason came in. Mason's one of his friends, of course. And I think just a change of tact and a change of mood, change of energy, is able to get the boys playing again. He's somehow managed to do that. And I feel like with Kane, that somewhat changed his mood, his mindset. And I feel like he's still waiting to see whether or not we get a director of football who comes in, if it's a manager he can respect. And then I think he mentioned something about having a word with the chairman just to see what page, like what the direction is for the club. So I think the way he's spoken, especially just after the game, he's talking in future tense. He's talking about, like we said just now, about the competition, the conference competition, and you shouldn't look down on it. And he's just a true professional, isn't he? He's not that type of guy to kind of hand a transfer request in or spit his dummy out. Although he did obviously have his head turned when Man City did come knocking that time, but I think that was because Nuno was in charge and we weren't really matching his ambition. But I honestly think it's down to the future of the club and where he sees that with himself being in it, whether he signs a new contract. I think personally, I don't think he'll go this summer. I don't think Levy will cash in. I think Levy would just kind of dig his heels into the ground, and I think Kane will see a year out. Personally, I think Kane will see a year out, and if he's not happy where the club's at, I think he will walk out on the free. He'll be like, "You man, it's been good for the memories," and I think the fan base will respect him. They'll have nothing to. Would have no choice actually to hail him up because he scored how many goals for us? Do you know what I mean? Home and away. He's literally had the club on his back like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So, Captain Kane, man, it's a mad one. I think without him, you can't replace those headers, left foot, right foot. Now he's doing a 10. Like, he's doing the most for us. Like, he's doing a lot. So, I don't even think 2 or 3 players. Because I remember when Bale left and we tried to replace him with 7 players and that never worked out. None of them, apart from maybe Eriksen, obviously, further down the line. But initially, it never worked. We tried to replace... We haven't found a replacement for Kyle Walker for a very long time until just recently with Porro. Eriksen, we still haven't found a replacement for him. I know we tried with Dembele and Lo Celso. That wasn't replaced. That was looked after. Moussa Dembele hasn't really been replaced in terms of someone that can dribble in between the lines and shield the ball and, progress the ball in certain areas when teams are doing 2 backs of 4 or a back line of 5, you know what I'm saying? We haven't really replaced that type of player with that type of guile. Lloris is a Reece, so I won't go any further for that. But you get what I'm trying to say. Like, Kane is irreplaceable, Beyonce. So it's going to be nuts. It's going to be mad. The fan base will miss him, But yeah, I think he sees out another year, and if we're not doing the right things, he's going to keep his step.
You talk about the right things, Ash, but Kane has been here, seen it, done it. I mean, he's seen it all before, hasn't he? Mourinho's come in, it looked like we were getting better for a phase, it all fell flat on his face. Conte was here, it looked like it was all getting better, and it all fell flat on his face. So, I mean, what do we need to do to convince him again that won't happen again?
I think for him to stay... I don't know. It's going to be a mad one. I can't even say like a Conference League would help him to stay because that, like I said before, that cup there it'd be nice to win something with the boys and the man them, but like he's a tiger, he's a shark, he's elite, and you're not going to be spoken amongst the league unless you have those top trophies, those top medals aligned against your name. You know, like when he joins like Sky Sports on the couch, or when he's on Match of the Day and he's sitting down with Shearer and Wright, they're gonna be bantering him like, "Raw, where?" You know when it says like it says their name and then it says like from 2000 to 2000 and what's it gonna say next to his name? You know that's in the back of his mind as a career.
Audi Cup winner 2018.
Listen. I think the whole draw. I know I'm in a minority here, and people in the comments and you guys on the panel can mud me if you think I'm mad. But this argument that Harry Kane's legacy as a GOAT of football is dependent on winning a trophy, for me, it's a narrative pushed by the media, because 99.99% of all of the best players that have ever played football play for the best teams. And so there's this like assumption that if you want to be the best, you have to have won team trophies. And let me run with this for a split second. If Harry Kane, there's two arguments, right? Harry Kane, some people think that Harry Kane can never be considered a GOAT because he's never turned up in the big moments. He's never done it when they've been there, like whether he's not been fit or he's bottled it or whatever. Put that to one side. If you think that he can never be considered a GOAT because he has a bottle job mentality in the big moments, that's a different conversation. But if you think that, if you are someone who thinks that it doesn't matter how many individual records that he breaks, goal scoring records, that he can never be considered in the greatest of all time unless he wins a team trophy, and the only thing that will change that metric is him leaving a football club where the players around him, alongside his bottle job mentality in the big moments, isn't sufficient to get him over the line. And then he leaves Tottenham and goes and joins a club like Manchester United, where he will still have the same bottle job mentality, if that's what you believe, but that it's other players that are better around him that get him over the line. Then his GOAT status is dependent on other people getting him over the line. And to me, it's an absolute logical fallacy to say that he's only going to be considered one of the best of all time, no matter how many individual accolades he has, if he gets a team trophy, and that deficit is based on joining a team where there's a better bunch of players around him. Players around him should have absolutely no bearing on whether or not him as an individual is a GOAT. If anything, the fact that he can win all those trophies and win all those individual accolades, goal-scoring accolades, whilst doing it for a team that managed to finish 5th, 6th, 7th, 4th occasionally, it should actually enhance his reputation, not be a deficient negative to take away from him. So I don't believe that. I think that it's a nonsense narrative concocted by the media who want to see the best players playing for the best teams. It doesn't make any sense on a logical narrative that he will be considered a better player in the realms of history, the archives of history, simply because he moves to a team that has better players around him. Doesn't make any sense.
But Sean, that's true. But that might be true. But maybe it's not about his individual GOAT status he's worried about. Maybe it's just more about his ambition and what he wants to be competing for. And the fact of the matter is,
fine.
And that's maybe more the argument as why he would leave Tottenham. It's not more like I want to be considered the best striker ever. I want to compete for the biggest trophies. I'm good enough to be competing for Champions League and Premier League titles. And at the moment at Tottenham, that seems like a very far way away, and he's been here for so long as well. He's been here for now, over 10 years, and he's signed a big contract because he really believed that at this football club, he signed a 5-year deal or 6-year deal was it? Because he believed that the future of this club was bright. He could really win trophies. He committed his long-term future here, and at the end of the day, we screwed everything up. Everything around him. He's been holding up his end of the bargain. He's been continually keeping up his standards, and everything around him hasn't been able to keep up with him at the end of the day, and been able to match him.
And that's fine, Sim. That's absolutely fine. If his personal ambitions are, I want to win a trophy, then so be it. But if those ambitions are in any way influenced by his thought process of whether he's going to be remembered as a GOAT in 20 years' time or not, because of a lack of team trophies, then someone needs to get in his ear and remind him that has absolutely no bearing on him as an individual. If he wants to do it because the media tells him that he will never be remembered, Mika Richards,
Mm-hmm.
the guy who, like, I know, not even going to get into it. What he did as a professional, like the things that he did, the things he was caught on camera promoting himself doing, he had the audacity to say, "I don't know how Harry Kane sleeps at night." This guy, right? It's embarrassing that these people represent this concept that he's not as fulfilled a football player and will be remembered as such, because unless he changes team and goes and plays with better players, to me, it absolutely makes no logic. If he wants to do it for himself because he thinks that he needs to win a team trophy, so be it. I get it. For what it's worth, I actually think that Harry Kane will end up staying at Tottenham Hotspur, because I think that the only logical place where he will play, where he doesn't sacrifice his Premier League greatest goal-scoring record, is Manchester United. He won't go to Chelsea. He won't go to Arsenal. Newcastle has no need for him right now. And also, there's as much of a question mark over their ability to win trophies there are at Tottenham. Manchester United is probably the only reasonable place that he goes. But if Daniel Levy holds out for an unreasonable sum in the summer, and Manchester United say not paying 110, 120 million quid for a 31-year-old or 30-year-old, they go and spend 80 million quid on Osimhen or one of the other, like Rasmus Højlund or somebody else. He ends up staying at Tottenham and says, "Okay, I'll leave for free in the summer following." I don't know where he goes. I don't know where he goes in the following summer, because he won't have.
Could he go to Liverpool?
Hit his record by the end. I don't think he'll go to Liverpool. He could go to Liverpool in terms of, like, is he going to damage his reputation the same way if he went to Man United? Yes, but I think that by then Liverpool also will have a striker. Chelsea won't need him by then. They'll have got their own striker. He won't go to Arsenal. He wouldn't go to Chelsea anyway. For me personally, I think he will sign for Tottenham under duress. He won't necessarily want to be here, but he'll be left with an option that only presents itself as a way that may result in him having the song sung about him like Sol Campbell has sung about. Remember that Tottenham fans booed Harry Kane when he didn't get back from pre-season training on time. When he just wanted to when he wanted to go to Manchester City, when he was twerking for City 2 summers ago, Tottenham fans booed him, or some did. Imagine what they would do if he went to Chelsea. I don't believe, and I think that he doesn't want the scenario of people singing in the next 10 years, "We're all having a party when Harry Kane dies," like they do with Sol Campbell. And there's not that much lack of similarities. Sol Campbell was one of our own. He was a captain. He was a hero at Tottenham. Harry Kane is exactly the same. I don't think there's that much difference between Chelsea and us.
Sol Campbell, and if Harry Kane was to go to Chelsea, it would be different in my opinion, because Sol Campbell left very young in his career, didn't spend that many years at Tottenham as captain. And when you're looking at Harry Kane, he's literally our top ever highest goal scorer of all time. He's given everything to Tottenham. He's 30 years old now. And I think if he was to go to Chelsea, yeah, it'll be a bit distasteful and there will be fans booing him on his return. But I don't think he'll be anywhere near as bad as what Sol Campbell did.
Maybe not, but maybe, I don't know. You could be right. You could be right, Ben. But I wouldn't put it past element of Tottenham fans to.
There'll be an element of it.
Yeah. There'll be some.
There'll be a section of the fan base. Yeah, fine, I grant you that. But Sol Campbell literally unified the fan base, and every Spurs fan hates Sol Campbell. You don't find a Spurs fan that doesn't hate Sol Campbell. I don't think it'll be the same for Harry Kane.
I reckon when
do you think Harry Kane wants to take that chance? Sorry,
probably not. I don't think he does. I think in an ideal world, he doesn't want to take that chance and he wants to stay. I reckon what the whole thing with Tottenham, with Kane, will end up. I don't think he'll sign this summer, but I don't think he'll leave either. And I think we'll roll the dice. I think what will happen is we'll try and convince him over his last year to try and stay. And if he ends up walking on a free and we can't convince him, I think we're going to take that risk. I think we're going to try all we can to convince him under a new manager. And I guess obviously Kane we'll get to see it firsthand, because I do think he's going to stay, what we're all about, what we're trying to do. And if he's convinced, then he'll sign. But if he isn't, if he stays another year and he thinks I don't think I can see a pathway here in the near future that we can win trophies or compete for league titles, and then he might leave on a free. But I do think he's going to give it that year. I think it's going to be a really tense wait, I think. And I think maybe he'll sign in January or something, but I think he's going to go into his final year, I'm predicting. And with us not knowing, I don't think he's gonna sign this summer, and I don't think he's gonna leave this summer.
And if he doesn't leave this summer, then sorry, Ash, just one last question.
Let Ash land, man. Let Ash land.
No, go on.
Just one last question. I'll ask Ash, if he doesn't leave this summer, then Manchester United, who would be his primary target, will probably be forced to go and spend money on somebody else, right? So next summer, when he has that free contract exit, that Man United won't need him. Is my thesis.
Yeah. I think like Man United are in the market for a striker, 100%. They're looking at Lissandro Martinez from Inter Milan. They're looking to do a swap deal with Martial. I don't know how that's going to work. But yeah, I did see that rumor, and then obviously they were linked with Osimhen before, so they're definitely in the market for a striker. Whether they decide to go with Harry Kane this soon, being 30, is debatable. It's down to subjectivity. I think Levy's going to be getting that statue, and he's going to be like, "Where do you want it, Kane? Up here or down there? How do you want it? Like facing this way?" That's what I reckon. He's going to try everything to like convince him to stay. And I just think Kane's character, I don't know what he just said about the Conference League and all of that. He just comes across as an ordinary dude, very humble, and he just wants to kick ball. Like he said, right, I just want to play football, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't mind. Like, yeah, I just want to kick ball. Like, and whether it be here or another club, I think his heart's at Tottenham. He just comes across as that nice guy. He's not that ruthless kind of guy, in my opinion. So I think he could possibly stay. He could stay.
And when you're talking about legacy, right? I mean, we mentioned it yesterday. Me and Sim were talking about it yesterday. I mean, who remembers Alan Shearer for that Premier League title at Blackburn? Nobody. What does everyone remember him for the amount of goals he scored? And I don't see why it'd be any different for Harry Kane. And why does everyone like to label Harry Kane with this trophy thing? What is it about Harry Kane? Is it just because he plays for Tottenham?
It's just because he's that good, I guess.
It's a narrative.
It's because he's that good, in my opinion.
It's a media narrative. If Harry Kane was playing for Southampton, it'd be the same thing. Just like Man City, there was always the draw. You shouldn't be playing for a team that's beneath you. We always need the best players playing for the best teams. It doesn't matter. No one criticizes the players that get trophies who should never. Like Calvin Phillips is going to pick up potentially a treble this season, and he's barely played more than 30 minutes for, I'm exaggerating, but for Manchester City. No one's holding that to account because the media narrative that pushes out the into the ether, and most average fans listen to the media and take the opinions on board and go, whatever Simon Jordan says or whatever Mika Richards says or Gary Neville or Jamie Carragher, what they say is truth because they know what they're talking about because they played the game. Therefore, I'm going to regurgitate their opinion. These people want the best players playing for the best teams, and they don't talk about the worst players that play for the best teams picking up trophies that don't deserve them, but instead they're going to hold Harry Kane just like they hold Matt Letizia accountable. And the reason why Harry Kane is the one that's standing out is because he is this generation's version of the 0.01% of the best players in the world that do not play for the best teams in the land or the best teams in Europe. There is no one like Harry Kane in this generation that is as good as he is playing for as average a team as Tottenham.
I'll tell you what is criminal.
Do you guys remember?
I'll tell you one second, Ash. I'll tell you what is criminal, though. For Harry Kane, the player that Harry Kane is, the quality of what Harry Kane is, to play if we do qualify for the Conference League, 2 out of the 3 years of the Conference League that has been around, he is going to play in 2 of those seasons. He's going to be the best player the Conference League has ever seen and probably will ever see.
Another record for him. Another record.
Right.
Go on, Ash.
I don't want to carry on a debate, but I think I'll just throw it in there and then we can end it. But basically, there was a massive debate between Ronaldo and Messi. Some people are Ronaldo, some people are Messi. And I think what made Messi the GOAT was the fact that he won the World Cup. I think that was it. So I think that's the reason why he went down as the all-time GOAT, the legend, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's the same argument. It's not the same argument, but that's the same category that people put Harry Kane in because he's not won a Premier League or he's not won a Champions League. He's not won FA Cup minimum. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't get spoke up. Like I had a DVD when I used to watch all the great players. You had Figo, you had Maradona, you had Ronaldo, like the real Ronaldo. You had all these players and they always showed like them lifting a trophy, just see armpit hairs flaring everywhere. But with Kane, you're not going to see that. It's not going to be that same conversation. Even though Shearer went to Newcastle, he still won a trophy at Blackburn. So it's like, it's that whole, and I know we're going to go back and forth, but it's even like that whole Jamie Vardy lifting a trophy because he came from nothing. He came from the dirt. He came from non-division football and he lifted it. Ian Wright, similar as well. You got these guys that they come out of nothing and they made something out of themselves, and you don't have that whole like story. You know, even when you talk about elite athletes, elite, the best of the best, you talk about Michael Jordan. Elite sport is fine margins, very fine margins, and to be considered the best, that involves winning at the top level. Do you know what I mean? And I think
shouldn't have to.
fans are desperate.
If both their careers ended now, Vardy and Kane, if they ended tomorrow, who has a better legacy? Who has a bigger legacy, Kane or Vardy?
To us fans,
No, in football.
Yeah,
In football,
Kane has.
Kane will be remembered for much longer than Vardy, in my opinion.
I just think
you'd rather make a movie about Jamie Vardy's life.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is as well? Because I do hear your point. You know what it is? It's just that, like, I think for football fans, they just want that kind of fairy tale ending. Do you know what I mean? And because Kane is such a great player, he's one of the greatest English players that we've ever produced. Do you know what I mean? And for him not to lift a trophy, people think it's almost criminal. Like, they know he can, he just needs that move. And they don't want to see his whole career, a bit like Totti at Roma. Like, they don't want to see him just stay at Tottenham and win nothing. And then, you know, our greatest ever English player didn't win as much as Rooney or any of those players. But I'm just throwing it out there. But I do hear what you're saying, Sim. You're right. I agree, man. I remember Kane over Vardy. But yeah, I'd rather
Who
watch
has a
a
bigger
film
legacy,
about
Kane or Vardy?
Kane or Vardy? I think Kane. I mean, England captain, England record goal scorer, Tottenham record goal scorer. I mean, if you want to talk about Jamie Vardy's legacy, you're talking about one completely lucky season. You know, that's not a legacy. What Kane has created is a legacy.